Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Got a 2006 Buick Lucerne with a 3.8 liter and gonna be replacing the radiator. First of all, go ahead and pop your hood. So next I'm gonna go ahead and remove this cover here because I want to see what all we need to remove to get this radiator out. You got quite a few different tabs here, so I'm gonna use this little trim tool here, get up under these ones, and those will just pop right out. And then you may have this style too. For this one, you just get up under the circle part here, pry up a little bit, and then it just kind of comes out like that. And then for this style here, just take a little flathead screwdriver and you're going to push down in the center and then just kind of pop that up. Same with on this one here. And you can see how easy those pop out. And then this should just pop off. Get this out of the way here. And so the reason I'm doing this job is I'll zoom in here. You can see right there on the skid plate, it's a little orange and wet with coolant right down in there. So that's why we're replacing this radiator. So it looks like there's a support here, cross member that we're gonna have to remove. You got a couple bolts here, but it goes down below there. So I'm going to see where those bolts are, and not quite sure if we need to remove this front bumper yet. Hopefully not. So I'll go ahead and crawl underneath there and get the skid plate off and see what we need to remove this. Alright, so as you can see, you got a few clips here. This one's held on by wire. Same with right here. And if I turn my camera, it's also held on by wire over there. So it's kind of rigged up on here. I did do a video on this about a year ago. I replaced the timing cover gasket, and I had to do the same thing and remove this. So let me go ahead and get some of these clips out of here, and then also get this wire undone, and let's get the skid plate off. And then it looks like there is one right here, right in front of the tire and wheel. So if you can get up under that one there. All right, I think I got all that. Let's see if we can get this down off of here. All right, so with that skid plate out of the way, you can see we got two 10mm bolts there holding this bracket on. And then just above that, you got a little wiring harness here you need to unclip from it. Go ahead and pull that off. And then go ahead and pull off these 10mm bolts. Then back up top here where your hood latch is, looks like we got 10mm here, and then just below that another 10mm, and then same thing on the other side. So let's go ahead and remove those four. Now let's go ahead and remove these two 10mm. Alright, so I thought maybe that would work, but as you can see, there's no way of getting this out of here. So it looks like we're going to have to remove this front bumper here. So I'm going to go ahead and take off these four plastic tabs here real quick. Then down here on your wheel well, let's go ahead and remove these 3 tabs here. Same thing on the other side here. So then go ahead and crawl underneath, and you can see right here on the passenger side, this is where we undid the wheel, inner fender well I mean. And then you can see right up here, you got a 10mm bolt and then a 10mm nut. So let's go ahead and remove both of those real quick here. And if you guys need to, you can always jack up your car to try to fit under here a little better. So there's what that looks like. And then do the same on the driver's side here. Let's see if I can take a little sledge here and kind of just hit on that stud. So kind of like that. And then you can see what that looks like. And I'll go ahead and do the same to the other side real quick. So same thing on this side, and actually this side I was able to just wiggle and it broke free here. So again, there's that stud. And then it looks like I missed one of the clips right here. So don't forget that one. Alright, so with all those loosened and out, you can see our bumper's pretty loose here now. And I'm not sure, but I think there's a couple clips that kind of pop in this part right here underneath the headlight. So I'm not really sure, but I think we need to pop this whole thing out. So let's see if this is gonna work. So I'm gonna kind of push from back here. There we go, just like that. So same thing on this side, and you do got to give it a little force here. So just like that. And then you should be able to just remove this whole thing. And get that up out of the way here. So now with that removed, let's go ahead and, because I want to get this cross member off. Let's unplug the sensor here. And then on the back side here, it's kind of hard to see, but you got a green tab. And actually that just popped out. I was gonna just unplug it, but that whole thing came out. So if you want to unplug it, you can just do it right here. Just like that. And then you put this back on here. And then let's undo this here. So if you grab a little screwdriver, pop that open, that releases that. And then it looks like I forgot one other clip here. You grab a 10mm, let's pull this one off here. Same with this side. Grab your trim tool. Let's pop this rubber off here. And the other side here. Now let's see if we can just pull this whole thing off. like we're connected right there. So you can just squeeze on that, get that to pop out. Next, grab your 10mm. Let's undo the hood latch there. All right, so as you can see, we're still hitting on this bumper part here. So kind of a pain getting this, just to get this bracket off here. I suppose if you could bend these tabs up here to get it off, but I'm gonna do it the right way. So we're gonna have to remove this piece here. First we gotta remove this plastic piece here, but I gotta crawl underneath there to undo some tabs there. And then hopefully if we get this off, finally we can get this out of here and out of the way. And then hopefully you guys can see this. So holding this plastic piece on, you can see that little rubber's holding that on. So take your trim tool and pop that off. And you can see that's just kind of hanging off here. It's just hanging on by that piece on the other side here. So we'll do that one. Now you can get this out of the way here. Then again, grab your trim tool. Let's go ahead and remove this one right by the headlight. Same thing on this side. So now we need to remove this impact bar here. And on each side, you can see in there you got 4 13mm bolts we need to remove. So let's go ahead and remove all those. And then same thing on this side. And you should be able to pull this off. Okay, so now let's see if we can get this off of here. So it should come off. And then that just slips off there. Like I said, you probably could, if you wanted to, bend these tabs, but like I said, I'm doing it the right way here. So next, I think I'm gonna go ahead and remove the passenger headlight just to make this job a little easier. It's probably optional if you want, but that'll just give me a little more room to unbolt the condenser lines there that are bolted to the radiator. I think it'll just make a little bit of a difference here. But it's kind of hard to see, but you got a 10mm bolt down there, one right here, and another one right here. So let's go ahead and remove all 3 of those. And then you may need to use a magnet for that one. And then so it looks like we got one more bolt right up underneath here that's holding it on. So what you can do is go ahead and remove this cover here. That just twists right off. And then what you want to do is grab a 10mm, and you're just going to kind of have to go off a feel. Can't really get my camera in there, but there's going to be a 10mm nut holding that on. Once you're on it, you'll feel it. And Looks like I dropped it right here. And that's what that looks like. So now we should be able to just slide this out of here. And then, looks like we got a clip right here. Let's just undo that. Squeeze on this tab here. Then grab a Torx T25. Let's go ahead and undo that screw there, holding our lines onto the radiator. That's what that looks like. And then you got a 10mm right here, holding that onto the radiator, your condenser. Same on this side. Next, grab your trim tool again. Let's go ahead and remove this one here from the radiator. And then you got another one right here. And as you can see, that just kind of ripped on there, but that'll work for now. And actually, it looks like we got one more down here. So we got another one right here. So same thing on this side. And actually on this side you can see it looks like there's only two here. So you got another one right here. The driver's side had three. Now let's see, not sure if this is going to work or not, but you can see the condenser slides into the radiator right there by this little clip. So we need to lift up on the condenser. I'm hoping we can lift that up just enough just to get it away from the radiator. That way we can pull the radiator out without having to disconnect any of the AC stuff. So let's just go ahead and try and slide this up. I'll go on the other side and do the same. See, looks like that's gonna work, but I don't want these lines hanging like they are for right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead until we get everything ready to come off. I'll just set that in there for right now. So next I think I'll go ahead and drain the radiator. So get yourself a large drain pan here. Now this radiator does not have a drain petcock, so what you're gonna have to do is just disconnect the lower radiator hose in order to drain it. And then it's really hard to get the camera down in here, but on your passenger side here, this can be your lower radiator hose, and we got a clip in there, spring clip, holding that on, that we're gonna need to take off here. So let me see if I can move my light to maybe give you guys a better view here. So it's really hard to get my camera in here, but you can see the hose clamps right there. So what I'm going to try is a pair of needle nose vice grips. And let's see if I can lock on to that clip there, or the hose clamp, I mean. And then hopefully we can slide it off there. So get your, see they're locked on there. So now let's see if I can pull the hose off here. And see if I can get a large flathead. See if I can try a large pry bar instead here. So we can get in there. Just kind of pry on that hose. That. And we'll go ahead and let that drain. And then I just want to show you guys really quick what I have here. So you can see a little radiator hose. And you can see how I just have a pair of needle nose vice grips on there, squeezing that clip or hose clamp. And then I was able to just pull it off here. And then you go ahead and remove your radiator cap here as well. I didn't do that before because it would have just leaked out. Next, come over here to the driver top, and we'll get the upper radiator hose off there. So you can just kind of go in through here, squeeze that, and pull this one off. Actually, let me grab a drain pan. I'll just stick another drain pan under here in case that one leaks a little bit. Just kind of wiggle that one off. Back over here on the passenger side, let's go ahead and remove this line right by the cap here. So next we need to remove the electric fan bolts, and you can see you got one right here. This is going to be on the passenger side, and those are going to be 10mm bolts. So let's go ahead and remove that one. Then on the driver's side you'll have the same thing, just below your upper radiator hose here. And then right in the center of the radiator here, you'll have a little clip holding the plastic fan shroud to the radiator. So you can just grab a pair of needle nose, get up under that clip, and just pull that off. Next, so down here on the passenger side, hopefully I can get my light in here. Let me zoom in. But you can see right here, you got a 10mm bolt, and just above that there's another one right here, and that's holding these two transmission cooling lines to your cooling fan assembly here. So let's go ahead and remove those. So there's one of them. There's that one. So now let's see if we can lift up on the fans here and then just kind of tip them out of the way. You got two tabs on the bottom here, just like on the front where the condenser connected into, where the fans just slide into it. So what we'll do is we'll lift it out a little bit and then we'll hopefully just tilt it back a little bit. So I'll do one side at a time. So yeah, just kind of lifted up and tilted it back, and then just watch your transmission lines there, may get caught up on that. And then this side, same thing. Not sure what I'm hitting over here. So this side looks like I'm hitting right on where the upper radiator hose connects. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is take one of these off. That way we can lift the radiator up just enough to get this to slide out of that bottom tab there. But this side we're already out, so we should be good. So now let's undo our transmission cooling line, our upper one here. So just take a flathead, just pry out on that little cover there. Grab yourself a pick and let's see if we can get under this little clip here. Let me grab a different style. Let's see if you can get your hook under here. Get it kind of started off there like that. And just remove your whole clip. That's what that looks like. And I believe the new radiator comes with new clips. And then should be able to just pop that out like that. So I'll just kind of leave it like that so it doesn't leak. I'll go ahead and do the lower one. So next I need to do the lower line, and it's going to be impossible to get my camera down in here. But get this line out of the way. You can see it way down there, just below the where the lower radiator hose connected. So we need to undo that one, and it's going to be exactly the same as this upper one here. So you got the little cover over it, and then go ahead and pull out that snap ring pin there, and then you should be able to pull that line off. I'm going to try to go in here from the bottom, but I don't know if that's going to work either. Yeah, it's just too hard to get into. So let me see if we can undo the top of the radiator and then see if there's any way we can kind of give us a little more room to pull it out and then disconnect that line. So grab your 10mm, let's go ahead and undo these. When you guys go to put these back on, you can see there's a right and then a left. So again, let's see if we can disconnect this condenser. Just watch your lines there. And just let it hang there. So I want to make sure we got enough wiggle room on the condenser. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off this fuse box cover here. And then I'm just gonna pull up on the hot AC line here, or the high pressure one. Just see if we can snap this out of here. And that gives us a little more wiggle room here on the condenser. All right guys, so what I ended up doing was just moving it away from the radiator a little more here. And then I got it sitting on a jack stand right here, just to kind of hold that. That way I'm not putting a bunch of pressure on these lines right here. So you can see that it's holding up pretty good. And then I think it's enough away from the radiator that we should have no problem pulling the radiator out. So now let's see if we can lift up on this radiator a little bit, pull it out, see if we can gain access to that lower transmission line a little better. Just kind of lift up. And you can see that side's already out. Let's see, these cooling fans are kind of in the way. There we go. Just kind of move these up out of the way. And that might just give us enough room here. I'll show you. You can see with that kind of out a little bit, and then this side's completely out. So it just sits down into this little hole here. And taking a look here, not sure if you guys can see that, but you can see way down there we got a little more room. Or if you wanted to, you could even go down through here. So let me go ahead and try and get that lower line off real quick. All right guys, so I finally got it. It fell down in the coolant there. That's probably the hardest part. And now we should be able to pull this out. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so I got both transmission lines out, so now we should be ready to remove it. All right, so let's go ahead and try and get this radiator out now. Cooling fan's all disconnected there. That side's already out. So all we need to do, pretty much pull this side out, I think. We'll lift up. The old radiator. And if you take a look here, you can see this is where it was leaking from. So right where the aluminum meets the plastic there, you can see all the orange, and then it must have leaked down, and that's what we were seeing on the skid plate there. All right, so I had to let my camera charge for a little bit here, and while I did that, I went ahead and blew out the condenser. So I just went from the back side here to use compressed air, just went real lightly, and then blew all the stuff out onto the ground here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a lot of dirt and debris here. The guy I'm doing this for, he goes back and forth from Colorado to Missouri quite a bit, so he gets a lot of bugs and everything. So this will hopefully help his cooling situation and also the AC. The best bet would be to use a hose and then just, you know, running water spray through the condenser, pushing everything back out this way. But compressed air works as well. Just don't use too high pressure of it. Just go lightly and blow all that stuff out. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our new radiator here. You can see I got this one just from AutoZone, and part number is going to be right here. So A2854. And what's funny is I was kind of looking at it here. You can peel this back and you can see it's just a Spectra premium radiator with the Duralast logo on it. So they just rebrand it pretty much, it looks like. And Spectra is actually pretty decent stuff, so we'll see how it does. But what's nice about this one, it has a lifetime warranty, and it was one of the only ones that was in stock, so that's why I just went ahead and went with it. But what you want to do, just make sure everything matches up to your old one, where your hoses go, your transmission cooling lines, and then I'll show you here. You want to make sure you got those O-rings inside the transmission cooling line ports there. You can see that green O-ring, and then same on the bottom one here. You can, not sure if you can see, but there's a green one in there. And if you look at your old one here, I'm not going to tilt it because it'll just spill out. Kind of see in there, it's really hard to see, but there's a black O-ring that's flattened on there. So the O-ring came out with that one, and then it's the same thing on that bottom one. And then what you will need to do is you will need to remove these, your little mounts, and then you can just stick those back on there, because the new one doesn't come with those. So I'll go ahead and pull that other one off as well. And then also, you may want to buy a new radiator cap, or you can reuse your old one. As you can see, this one does not come with a new radiator cap as well. And then just double check everything on the back side as well. Make sure all that matches up. And let's go ahead and stick this one in. And then I'll just go ahead and stick the old cap on here, just to make sure we don't get any contamination down in there. And then also, I forgot to mention, you can see that the new one comes with the clips for the transmission lines as well. And they're already set in there. So we should just be able to snap those in, and it'll snap right in. All right, so let's go ahead and get this new radiator in. So we'll kind of do the same way as it came out. Go ahead and get this side in first, passenger side. And then I'll do the same. I'm going to go ahead and get that lower transmission line in there first, connected. So again, not sure how well you guys can see this, but let's go ahead and snap that bottom transmission line in. Like I said, it should just snap right in and lock into place with the new clips. I want to make sure that gets seated in there correctly. So you want to make sure that gets locked in there. But yeah, you got to push in pretty hard, and then that snap ring will just snap around the line there. And then again, got your little cover here. Go ahead and stick that on. And that helps that clip from popping out. Then let's go ahead and get the driver's side up in here. Now let's see if we can get our cooling fans back in. And I'm not sure why I'm having so much trouble getting this side in over here. Doing this side first. Okay, so so we're in there. Let's try this side here. We should be back in over here. And then again, connect your two transmission cooling lines to your fan assembly here. And not sure how good you guys are going to be able to see this again. And your other one here. Those two tight. Go ahead and move on just above that. And let's connect the fan shroud to the new radiator right here. And then same thing on the other side here. And then you got your little clip here. Goes right on the center. Next we'll do our upper radiator hose. So grab that. Grab your vice grips or whatever you need. Clamp on that hose clamp here. And then go ahead and slide that on. And then when you guys release this clip, make sure you get that exactly where it was on the hose before. If not, you may develop leaks. Now I'll connect the lower radiator hose. Again, you can see I still got my needle nose vice grips on there. And hopefully you guys can see. But let's go ahead and get that connected. Trying to do this without popping those vice grips off of there. There we go. And again, make sure it's on there all the way before you release your vice grips here. Right about there. And it wants to slip off a little bit, so I'm gonna hold it with one hand all the way against the radiator and then release the vice grips here. And again, just check that hose clamp, make sure it's sitting where it was when you removed it, and we're nice and tight. And then go ahead and connect your upper transmission cooling line here. And again, this time you can get a better look at it, but you gotta just push in real hard and it'll snap with that clip in there. So just like that. Take your little cover and slide that on there. Then we go ahead and connect our coolant reservoir hose here for your overflow. Next, put on your radiator supports. And again, these are marked left and right. And tighten that up with your 10mm. Let's go ahead and get your condenser, put it in each side on the radiator. And then just make sure that locks in there real good. Grab your 10mm bolt and bracket. And again, these are actually marked left and right as well. So you want the curl end to go on the bottom here, just like that. And let's tighten that up. And same thing on the other side here. Grab your Torx T25 and thread that in right here. You may have to move these lines around a little bit. And that's just like a self-tapper, that screw there. Then go ahead and get your AC line back into this little holder here. And then you go ahead and put your cover back on here. Then go ahead and clip your little cover back all in place here. Got your bottom one. Connects to your condenser there. This middle one goes to your radiator. And the other side, of course, you got the cutout here for your AC line. I'll snap them down here. You got this one right here. Next, we'll go ahead and get our bar back on here. Grab your 10mm. Let's get the lower two bolts on here. Up top as well. And then of course you got your little wire looms that'll go right, snap back into there. And this one came off of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some electrical tape and I'll put this one back on. Next we'll do the hood latch. Just pull these out. I stuck them in there, that way I didn't lose them. Grab your latch here. Make sure your cable goes through right here. And then try to get the, you can kind of see where the bolts were. So try and get those in the same spot. That way you don't have issues with this being at the wrong area. And then you can see where the bracket was as well. So make sure that gets kind of lined up the way it was. Then you go ahead and plug purple one in there. Next, I'll go ahead and get this headlight put back into place. And then you can see right here's where that nut, that screw down there went from the side right here. So let's get that in place. Get your top 2 bolts in here, 10 millimeters. And then this one's kind of hard to get down in there. So I got my magnet again, and I'll go ahead and stick it down in there. Just to get it like that. And then for this back nut, I found it easier just going up under here before I went through the fender well here and that little access hole. But if you take this, and it looks like I can just reach right in here and get on the back side here. And you can screw that in right there. And then while you're down here, you can go ahead and plug this in. And then you can tighten that nut up through here. And then you can go ahead and put this cap back on. So now let's go ahead and do our crossbar. Put a jack stand here since I'm by myself to kind of hold it here in the center. So I can get a couple of these started. And you'll see a Buick label right here. You want to make sure that's right side up. Grab a bolt here. Let's get one of these started at least. And then hop over to the other side. With that tight, go ahead and push in your clips here. Next, go ahead and grab your cross member here. And you got your 10 millimeter bolt here. And then go ahead and plug in your sensor here. That. And then you got this one, which goes in there. And then you can wrap this back around here, and just like that. Then grab this little cover piece here and go ahead and set that on. And then go ahead and connect this one here to that piece of plastic piece we just put on. And then same thing on this side. So now let's go ahead and get this bumper back on, the fun part. So go ahead and lift this up here. Get that in position. Get it kind of sitting on there like that. So now I'll do one side at a time, kind of like before. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of push on it right here, clip it into place. So kind of like that, and you can see it locked into place. And same thing on this side. Just like that. Go ahead and put your fasteners in here. Then go ahead and get your two 10 millimeters that go right down in there and up here. Again, it's kind of hard to get your hand down in here. And then again, under here, grab your little stud here, and you're gonna put that back in right up here. Like that. And then you can see how you're gonna kind of slide it into that little slot right up here. You can see how it changes there. So if you can get it over, just like that. Get your little nut here, get that started on that. Then go ahead and get your clips back into place. So same thing on this side. Now go ahead and get the skid plate back up. Like I said, I'm gonna have to rig this up a little bit because it was tied with wire and everything else. So hopefully yours guys isn't like this. All right, so as you saw, I got the skid plate all rigged up there. Got that on as best as I could. So now let's go ahead and stick on this cover here. Get all your push pins for it. So now we should be ready to fill. And as you can see, it's really not that much that came out when I pulled that low radiator hose. Like I said earlier, I did do a thermostat and the timing chain cover gasket and all that on this probably about a year and a half ago. So it does have newer coolant, but I did get a gallon of concentrate of Prestone Dex Cool, and then also got a gallon of distilled water. But first I'm gonna go ahead and use up, I got some of this left over from another project, and this is gonna be the same thing as the Prestone Dex Cool. You can see right here, GM 1995 and up. So this will work just fine. And this is already 50-50. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the rest of this. Let's say there's about a half a gallon, if that, in here. So let's go ahead and start filling. So go ahead and pull your radiator cap off here first. Then grab a clean funnel. So what I'm going to do now is grab my funnel, and I'm going to go ahead and pour this concentrate, and I'm going to do half of this into that. So probably about to that line there, I think is halfway. So let's go ahead and pour that in. All right, so let's say that's about half there. So now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and stick the funnel in here, and I'll fill with distilled water up to here, which is where it was at first. And that'll give us our 50-50 ratio. And then I'll pour the rest of the distilled water into this one here. Now we got our 50-50 mix, and actually have 2 gallons left. So then go ahead and continue filling this. Just try not to overfill it, then you'll get coolant everywhere and you won't be sure if you have leaks or not. So just kind of go slow. And right there, kind of full. So what I'm going to do is go over here to the upper radiator hose, and I'm going to squeeze it to try to get some of these air bubbles out. Once you do that, your level will drop some. Continue filling, and keep repeating that process. Okay, so I'm going to say that's good, because as you can see, we are now full right there. I'm not going to fill that up anymore because I don't want it to overflow. Then go ahead and replace your cap. Next, we'll go ahead and fill our overflow reservoir here. And you got your 2 lines, or your 1 line here, it looks like. And this is going to be the cold level. So we'll fill right up to this line here. So we'll go to about right there. Now we'll go ahead and start it. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat on here. Crank both sides up here. Turn the AC off. That way the gets flowing through the heater core here. And then with it running, just go ahead and check for some leaks. Of course, we have a little bit of residue from when we pulled everything off. But just check around your hoses, everything else. Transmission lines there. And then same thing, your upper hose here. You can see, looks like we're good. Not seeing any leaks or anything. And you can see our level there, still where it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and let this idle. We'll get it up to temp. If it doesn't get up to temp, I'll go ahead and take it for a cruise real quick, because we want to get those thermostats to open up, and then we'll see if we need to add any more. And you'll know if your thermostat's opened up by if your upper radiator hose is hot. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and we'll check our level. Alright guys, so I went ahead and just took it for a little spin here. You can see we're at normal operating temperature. Also have heat coming out of the vents, which means it's flowing through our heater core, and then also the thermostat opened up. And then as you can see, our level didn't really change, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and shut this off. We'll let it sit overnight, and that'll probably slowly go down just a little bit. and then I'll top it off if I need to, and I'll also pull the cap in the morning too, and just check our level right there on the radiator. And then also just double check, you can see our fans just kicked on as well, so I want to make sure those are working. And then one more thing I like to check, since we did pull off the transmission cooling lines, I like to just check my transmission fluid just to be safe. You really don't lose much pulling those lines off. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So here's your dipstick, go ahead and pull that out. Give it a wipe. Stick it back in. And let's check our level here. My camera will focus. And as you can see, max is right here, a minimum right there. And we are right in the middle of that crosshairs. And you want to check this with the transmission warm as well. So that's another reason I took it for a drive. So looks like we're good on that. Alright, so that's going to do it for the video. Like I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and let this sit overnight. I'll double check the level in the morning and then also double check for leaks. But that's going to do it. This is a 2006 Buick Lucerne with a 3.8 liter V6. Went ahead and replaced the radiator. And it's not that easy of a job, but it is doable. And that's why I made this video, to help everybody out. And a lot of people tell you, or shops, that they can't do this job without disconnecting the AC lines and the condenser. But as you saw in the video, I was able to do it without disconnecting any of that or having to recharge the AC system or anything. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, you should subscribe to my channel, check out all my other videos, and appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.